Oh my gosh, I done messed it up. That's so embarrassing. Excuse me for that. But welcome back to another very special episode of The Breakdown. X's and O's. And we're not talking hugs and kisses, ladies and gentlemen, because today, as you see, it is just me today. But I obviously don't come unprepared. But I would like to say that the 5-year NFL vet, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy I like to call Nate Nessie, you can call Nate Ness, is a little under the weather. He is out today, so I can't have my NFL veteran here. He had to take a sick day. It's fine, that happens every once in a while. But I do have a familiar face, a guy you know and you hopefully you love to come for an hour and talk football. So, let me introduce my buddy, Mr. Ty Goldman.
What's up? What's up? I hope they love me.
I hope so too. But look, we're both back in the great region of South Mississippi.
That's right.
How great is that? How great is that?
Oh, it's great to be.
We're home.
Great to be back here. It's great to be back here. We'll be back for the full week. Poor you have to go to Oxford, and I get to stay down here. But it's good to be back home. So,
well, I can't say what's up, Nate, but I can say what's up, Ty. So how you doing, Ty? What's the I can't tell you. I can't really, unless you want me to give you a nickname for the show. I mean, you already know what nickname I have for you.
We're good. They don't need no nicknames. We'll just stick with Ty. No, I'm doing good, Connor. Got in last night. Ate supper with the family. Ate supper night with the family. Been hanging out with the hometown fellows. Gonna hang out with them tonight as well. So. It's just been a good week so far. Good to be back. We'll have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. I'm sure you're excited for that. And wrap up the last couple of days here.
Well, I will. It's like I just got here, but I'll be leaving I'll be leaving tomorrow to go to Oxford.
Yeah.
And I just got here, so it's like, whatever. Well, I'm going to the Egg Bowl to cheer on my team. My dad looked at me today. He said, "Look, Connor, I have a feeling we're going to win. I'm like, if we won, it would cap off. Because look, Ty, I was so happy when I was in the car driving here because I had taken the psych exam. I stayed up till 4:30 studying for it the night before. Sunday night, I stayed up till 4:30. I made a freaking 100 on that thing. I was so hyped.
100?
I made 100, Ty. 100.
There you go, man.
He's going to go up there and give me a free Bops gift card and sing to me because I made 100. I freaking, man, it literally has capped and started a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be giving thanks, eating a lot, Ty, because I have eaten too much Subway, Panda, and Chick-fil-A the past semester, and I'm ready for some food. So,
I tell you what I'm prepared for. Friday is leftover day. Halftime of the Egg Bowl. bread.
You a big bag,
turkey,
boy.
ham, dressing, mac and cheese, bread. It's be great. And then you got that pecan pie for dessert tomorrow. Ooh.
Oh my big bag. I'm gonna come over and get that buttermilk cake.
Buttermilk pie? Yeah.
Buttermilk pie, is that what it is? Yeah.
That's a Mama Goldman special.
Yeah, Mama Goldman. She's got I need a slice. I need to slice that buttermilk pie. You've been hyping it up too much for me not to taste it.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Well, Ty, if you're ready to eat, I'm ready to eat today too. You ready?
Let's get into it.
All right. So Nate's not here, so I have my own clever names for my segments. And for the first segment of the show, it's not Nate Necessary Notes. It is the devastating news. Hold up. I still got to get the sound effect. Bam. Okay. So usually we do an NFL weekly recap. Here it is. Right down here. Let me get out my notebook because I sent you the notes I had written. My whole notes for this. Not for the show, but not just for the segment, but for the show. But most of the notes are for this segment because
Yeah.
there's a lot that happened. Now we're going to talk about 3 games in particular. Crap, my phone just fell. We're going to talk about 3 games in particular. And then we're going to talk about really what the title of the show is. Top 3 rushers in the NFL. We're going to go through them. We're going to talk about their impact on their new teams because they all got new teams, and we're going to go for there. So the first game, we have Green Bay put a whooping tie on the 49ers, 38-10. Josh Jacobs continues to shine. This game, he had 26 carries, 106 yards rushing, and 3 touchdowns on the ground to add to it. So you talk about Josh Jacobs, was on the Raiders last year, came into Green Bay. Don't kind of compare him yet. We'll wait till we get to all 3 of them. How do you feel about Josh Jacobs on a new team, a new regime, a new scheme? How's he fit so well in the Packers offense, Ty?
Oh, he's such a good player, Connor. He really is. He's the thing with and it's really the thing with a lot of these guys too is there was really nobody in Las Vegas when he was there and when they were Oakland. There's nobody with the Raiders, other than him. And that's kind of the thing is now he's surrounded himself around a good quarterback when Jordan Love plays, but Malik Willis has played well too. And there's a lot of talent on that team, especially I think they're really good at wide receiver and really deep there. So there's a lot of talent on that team. It's a proven good offense with Matt LaFleur as a head coach, and he calls the shots on the offense. They still give him the ball, right? It's not like he doesn't do as much as he did with Oakland and Las Vegas and whatnot. Hey, sometimes I get confused. I feel like they should still be in Oakland, but anyway, yeah, it's not like he's not putting up the same numbers as he did. It's just the thing is he's got help around him, and teams don't have to focus just on him. He's got help around him. I think he's been excellent this year. It's fun to see him so good. He was so good at Alabama in college. Alabama had a plethora of running backs under Nick Saban. And they'd always go to the league and do pretty well. I know Eddie Lacy did well. He was another guy, and he was with the Packers when in the prime of his NFL career. So, but no, Jacobs has been good mainly because it hasn't had to be all him, and he's kind of had the weight of the team kind of off his shoulders.
Now, you talk about kind of Josh Jacobs was still productive on the Raiders. We can say that. In 2022, he led the league in rushing with just over 1,600 yards, 1,653 yards. So you get that. Josh Jacobs signed a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Packers, so he's going to be there for a minute. And you talk about another Alabama running back. They're I think we could call them RBU. I can't really think of a team that has produced as not even like running backs, but really solid running backs like Alabama has in the past even decade. I mean, you talked about Eddie Lacy, Ty. That dude was 2015, 2014, we were talking about Eddie Lacy.
Well, I mean, Mark Ingram was, like 2009, 2010, 2011 for Alabama. So, and then he went in the league and did great things.
I mean, like we said, talk about Alabama running back, excuse me. Let's talk about another one. Let's talk about Derrick Henry. Now, we have another Harbaugh bout going on. Now, it's the third time John and Jim Harbaugh have met each other. Jim has lost in the regular season to John, like in 2011. Then they met in the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl again to John. And so now you have the third bout, and it's Jim's time to shine. He's got a new team. We were thinking the Chargers were going to have an off year. He's never been under 500 with the team, so we were expecting something maybe around 500. And he was leading for the first part of the game, and then Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry just went off. It was just, I mean, they are probably the best quarterback running back duo in the entire league. You have Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 140 yards. Didn't get in the end zone. That's fine. You were still productive with 140 yards rushing. And this is a new team. You signed a 1-year, $16 million fully guaranteed contract to stay with the Baltimore Ravens. You're shining. Lamar Jackson's playing the best football as a quarterback. He's throwing, he has the best quarterback numbers he's ever had because he actually has a running back that can take the rushing game off of his shoulders. What does Derrick Henry add to Baltimore, Ty, and why has this contract been such an A-plus move for the Baltimore Ravens?
You say it's an A-plus move. I totally agree with you. This is probably the biggest signing of all the free agent signings last year. The amount that he's and I've said this before, the longevity in his career, especially as a running back that's a hard-nosed kind of guy and I'll run you over kind of guy. NFL running backs just don't last as long anymore. But Derrick Henry is kind of the outlier in that. He's been great this year. And in the past, the Ravens just hadn't, they hadn't had much of a run game, and you can't really, fault anybody. They just haven't been healthy. And speaking of being healthy, I mean, J.K. Dobbins was with the Ravens last year, just couldn't stay healthy, though. He kept with his knee. He messed up his knee really bad, and he had an Achilles injury, and he just couldn't stay healthy. But now he's with the Chargers, and he's been good as well. We're kind of talking about the Chargers a little bit. He's been good. It's good to see him have production. But back to Henry and the Ravens. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. He's so powerful. I'd love to think that I could tackle him if you gave me 100 tries, but I probably couldn't. He's so good, Connor. So no, I mean it's big for him, and it's in what it has done too. And you mentioned Lamar. It's kind of he doesn't have all the run game on his shoulders, so you've seen him pass so well this year. He's he's seeing guys so much better because the run game is so out of his hands. I mean, he doesn't have to. All you got to do is just hand the ball off, and you got at least 3-4 yards of carry. He's played well. I look forward to seeing him complete or continue to play well during the season. They're going to be a juggernaut. I think they should. I think that offense is really good. The only thing that can limit them is the pass defense, and it's one of the worst. I think maybe the worst in the league. I thought they did well against the Chargers, kind of containing it a little bit, but we'll see. That's like I said, that's the only thing that could really limit them. But that offense is good, and Lamar's passing the ball well, but he's just as big of a threat as running the ball. And Derrick Henry could be the best running back in the league this year, if not for a guy we're about to talk about in a second.
I love the move. The one thing that I had criticized about that move, and I wasn't saying it was a bad move, it was just the fact that Derrick Henry is hitting that age in running backs where you start to digress. And obviously, we haven't seen that in Derrick Henry, not even this year. I mean, he's on pace to hit 2K again that we've seen him hit before. He's on pace for that.
It's incredible.
So
it's incredible.
It's fine. And it was like maybe he's on the wrong side of 30, but you have all this. I mean, you I hate to bring this up, but you bring up like LeBron James, dude. He sleeps in hyperbaric chambers to keep his body, youthful. And so now you have all this new technology. You can play a little bit longer because you're able to keep your body 10 years younger. And so now you're saying, okay, well, they're on the wrong side of 30, but how will that affect him going into this year? And it hasn't. He has looked great. I mean, he might look as good, if not better, than his offensive player of the year campaign. And
yeah.
Maybe
he's been good.
Have we seen an MVP and offensive player of the year on the same team besides the same player? How crazy would it be if Lamar won it and Derrick Henry won it?
That would be crazy. But it could happen. I mean, seriously, Lamar is probably definitely the front runner for the MVP.
Yeah.
And yeah, what Henry's on pace to do? Yeah, certainly. So the Ravens obviously saw some things that a lot of fans didn't, and they saw that this guy's taking care of his body. and he's got a couple more years left in the tank, and especially he's got this year left in the tank where he could take us to maybe the Super Bowl.
Now, do they extend Derrick Henry is the question. Do they let him go after this year, or they keep him in Baltimore?
I don't know why you would let him go, because then you just burden yourself. Then you just burden yourself to find another running back. You've already got a good one. I'd run him until he proves he can't do it anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want to burden yourself for no reason. If I mean, if you've got a proven guy right there, there's no reason. It's the same thing when Saints fans talk about Kamara. I want him to obviously retire a Saint, but the thing is a lot of people are like, well, you probably need to find a new running back pretty soon, or maybe ship him off. He still produces. Why would you burden yourself with getting rid of a really good running back at his age, and then and losing that production? So no, I think they should. I think they will, and I think they should extend him.
Now, you mentioned somebody that we're about to talk about, so let's talk about him. You got a guy that has actually been my favorite to watch. I mean, dude hurdled somebody backwards, and they've added it in the video game too. Dude hurdled somebody backwards, Ty. Saquon Barkley, after the Eagles beat the Rams 37-20, he had a historic night for Philadelphia. He went 26 carries, 255 yards rushing, which is the highest rushing night for this season, and 2 touchdowns. Now, for scrimmage, that's 30 touches because he had a couple catches, 302 yards, and still 2 touchdowns on the ground. Now, Saquon, for this game, he set 2 Eagles single-game franchise records. One for the most rushing yards in the game with 255, and then another one for the most scrimmage yards in the game with 302. And you talk about, the Eagles have had, I'm pretty sure they've had Shady McCoy before, and they've also had DeMarco Murray as well. So you've had people. I don't know if either one of those have now I know one of them has been offensive player of the year before. I don't know if it was with the Eagles or not, but I mean, like I said, you have somebody that is really, really good. Now you have Saquon here, and he's broken records, and I want to pull something else up too that was also interesting that Adam Schefter posted on Instagram that I do want to read out. Now, he has 500 yards of scrimmage in the last 2 games, which is the 3rd player ever in history. Now, he joins Walter Payton and Ollie Matson, who are 2 NFL Hall of Famers. So, and Saquon will probably join him as a Hall of Famer, if we're being honest. He's a pretty good running back. Now, that's not the only thing. He's the 6th player in NFL history to record multiple rushing touchdowns of 70-plus yards in a game. I'm not going to read those players out. He's just a 6th one. And then his scrimmage yards for the season is the 2nd by any player in the first 11 games with a team. The number 1 guy is Eric Dickerson, who has the rushing yard trophy for a single season. And we're going to talk about Saquon potentially breaking that this year. Talk to me about Saquon on the Eagles. Maybe if he breaks the record this year, Ty. Let me know what this move has done for Philadelphia.
Well, it's allowed, I think, a big thing for Philly. It's allowed them just to slap the New York Giants right in the face, their division rival. I think that's funny for Philadelphia fans. He was going nowhere in New York, and it's the same thing we talked about with Josh Jacobs when he was with the Raiders. That there just wasn't enough talent there, and there wasn't enough talent there in New York with the Giants. Not great quarterback play. Even now the quarterback play is still in question. Daniel Jones has been cut, so but for Philly, it has been huge. You mentioned 302 yards from scrimmage last game, and he had, I think you said 30 touches. Connor, that's a first down every time he touches the ball. If I'm doing that right, I think I'm doing that math right. I hope so. But that is just absolutely insane. He has been huge. You talk about previous Eagles running backs. He's probably the best running back. I mean, they've had some good ones over the past years, like you mentioned, Shady McCoy. They had Jay Ajayi. He was good. He is the best running back they've had in a long time. He could definitely break the record this year. They obviously still want to give him the ball. He's at 223 carries this year. I think that's at least like I think they played 11 games, so I think that's like 20 something carries a game. So they're going to feed him the ball. Obviously, it's not like though the same thing with what we mentioned with Josh Jacobs. He's not the only one on that team. Jalen Hurts is still a threat to run and obviously pass because that's his job. And they also have got uh, a really good receiving core. So it's not just him, and that's what makes this Eagles team scary. They are definitely, I would say, probably the second best team in the NFC behind the Lions. But those are two teams that are really good, and I think those are two teams you could see play for the NFC title game. But Saquon, just a freak athlete in it, and what he does in the off season to get himself in shape to play the way he does. It's just he's one of the best athletes I think I've seen in a long time. He's so powerful, and he does things the right way. Can't speak enough to Saquon. I hope he breaks the record. I really do because he's a great guy. So, but yeah, big pickup for the Eagles, and it'll definitely help them in their quest to try and get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like we said, it's been a minute since somebody set that record. Eric Dickerson did it all those years ago. Now, I kind of want to compare them briefly for just the next couple minutes. I want to compare them before we get to our next segment. I'm going to give you your stats on the year. That's rushing and
Mhm.
scrimmage. If I'm going to paint a scenario, if we have these three guys as finalists, say we could have finalists for the Offensive Player of the Year award, obviously these guys are going to be in contention for the award. I'm going to give you some stats based on what you think is going to happen for the rest of the year. I want you to kind of tell me who you think has the best chance of winning this award. But here we go. This is your 2024 rushing leaders. Now, Saquon has 1,392 yards of rushing, 223 carries, and 10 touchdowns. Derrick Henry's got 1,325, 221 carries, and 13 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs with 944 yards rushing, 202 carries, and 7 touchdowns. Now, for the scrimmage, Saquon's got 1,649 with 12 touchdowns, which leads the league. Now, Derrick Henry has 1,421 with 15 touchdowns, which is second place to Saquon in terms of yardage. Then Josh Jacobs is 1,130 and 8 touchdowns with his fifth place for yards of scrimmage. Now, obviously, when you're an offensive player of the year, you don't just look at rushing, you look at all scrimmage stats. And when you are able to control the ball on the rushing plane and the passing plane, like we saw Christian McCaffrey do last year very well. He got himself an Offensive Player of the Year award, and now these guys are on track to do the exact same thing. So if these guys, hypothetically, were the only three that we could see, who has the best chance of winning it?
Yeah, you put a tough one on me, Connor. I think when you think about it, I think honestly, if it's just those three guys, I think what's important is you see how much of an impact they've made to the team. Uh, I think Josh Jacobs has made an impact, but I really think the Henry and Saquon have made a bigger impact. I think golly, that is tough. I would say honestly, I'd probably say Saquon. I think he can. I think he can keep this up. I think he can have a couple. I think he have at least another game like this. He's always prone to breaking out big games like this. I just think he's been so big for that Eagles offense. Uh, if yeah, I'm going to say Saquon. I want to hear what you say too, but I'm going to say Saquon because I could go. I'm on either side of the fence about this. I could go with Derrick Henry too.
This is my opinion on it. Now, The NFL loves stories. They love painting pictures before they go into the award. I mean, when you watch the NFL draft, it takes 30 minutes before they announce the first pick because they're showing the entire college career of this number one overall pick, who it could be, and they love the story of it. So you have last year, the 2023 comeback player of the year, you have Joe Flacco. Came off the couch, was on the freaking practice squad, ended up taking the Browns to the playoffs. Didn't do so well the first round, but that was the story the NFL loved. They made him comeback player of the year, and he deserved it. He deservingly so. He deserved that award.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing this year. Derrick Henry's a great story, but there's no better story than Saquon Barkley this year. I mean, he has the stats to back it up, but when you go to a division rival team with as much beef as New York and Philadelphia have historically, you have Tiki Barber saying Saquon's dead to him now because he's going to a rival team. It's that heated. Someone like Tiki Barber, a Giants legend, played running back there, tweeted out like, Saquon, you are dead to me because you going to a new team. So I think because of the story, because of the stats to back it up, he could beat the record. If he beats the record, he will 100% win it because it hasn't happened in 40 years. So Saquon, the offensive player of the year for 2024, has to be Saquon Barkley.
That's fair. Yeah, we both agree. So, but hey, I think we both agree too. It could definitely go the other way, and Derrick Henry could definitely get it too.
No, it obviously could. And before we get into our next segment, Ty, somebody that breaks records on and off the field is Jeff Retepney with Erie Insurance.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Shh, sorry. Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call Jeff Retepney at 704-464-4544, go ahead and ask him who he thinks is winning Offensive Player of the Year. All right, Ty. Did you bring your pool floaties?
No, what's I supposed to?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
My bad. I come under my hair. My bad. Whoops.
We're not swimming with the Loch Ness today. I asked that with Nate because he can't swim. So every time we swim with the Loch Ness, he has to bring his pool floaties because he just can't swim. He just never learned how.
Yeah.
But it's not a Nate show today, so we will be unlocking answers for today. Now, it'll be kind of a brief segment. I just want to go over there are two teams, and this is crazy to think that already in week 13, there are two teams. Well, there's actually three. But I'm not going to go to the third team. The Lions have like 12 scenarios that they could go that could happen with 17 teams losing it. It's just too much. Two teams that have the easiest scenarios to go to the playoffs in week 13. It's crazy. I mean, already we're at the point of the NFL. We still have 6 games left. At least 6 games left. And we're talking about people making the playoffs already.
Yeah, but it feels like it's gone by so fast, Connor.
Yeah, I know.
It's so sad. It's so sad. Same with college. Sad.
I wish college was longer. It's just so much more enjoyable to me. I mean, I will sit down on my bed for all day. The only thing I'll do is go walk to Subway or something to get me lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch college football all day.
Yep.
That's what I like to do. I'll sit down and watch college football all day. But today we're talking about NFL. And if you watch week 13, watch for these two playoff scenarios because if it happens, these two teams are making the playoffs. You have the Kansas City Chiefs. They will play the Las Vegas Raiders on Black Friday. When that happens and the Chiefs get a win, they will be able to make the playoffs if and only if the Dolphins lose tomorrow on Thanksgiving. If that happens, Chiefs make the playoffs. But you have also the Buffalo Bills. If they win against the 49ers on Sunday and the Dolphins also lose, they will clinch their division and make the playoffs. So, Ty, is it likely for these teams to make the playoffs? You can talk Chiefs first if you want to, then we can talk Bills. We can kind of split it up. Let's go Kansas City. What's the possibility for Kansas City making the playoffs we'll know Friday for sure. Let me know. I know you're doing this.
I got a question
Go ahead
for
and
you
tell me.
first.
You can ask me something. That's fine.
Now, they both make the playoffs if the Dolphins lose and they win, right? It doesn't cancel out one another. Okay,
no,
that's
because
just
they clinch their division, so it's not like a wild card spot or anything.
Gotcha.
They will clinch.
I got you.
That's how bad
Gotcha.
that's how bad the rest of their teams are.
The
We talked
AFC
about
East. You know the AFC East sucks.
Oh
Oof.
yeah. Well, the Chiefs, they only have one loss, so they're looking pretty good. But this is it. You make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs start taking it slow after this week because, dude, you clinched the playoffs. What more is there to do other than the postseason? Think about it. If you go to the playoffs week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you have 5 weeks to prepare for the first postseason.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the number 1 seed, you get an extra week as a bye. You get 6 weeks to prepare for your playoff game.
I don't know that they'll like take off because they still got to fight for the 1 seed.
They will. They won't take off yet. They'll just slow it down. I feel like they'll just slow it down.
Yeah, I think you're right. No,
so let's go Kansas City.
Definitely. Okay, yeah, we'll go Kansas City.
And you let me know what's going on over there.
I mean, yeah, you ask if that scenario is likely to happen. Yeah, I think I honestly would pick both of those games how you described it. I think the Chiefs will beat the Raiders this weekend, or on Friday rather, and I think the Dolphins will lose to the Packers tomorrow. Packers, by the way, woof, they've been playing good. They're scary too, but yeah, I think both of those things will happen. Chiefs have just been really weird this year. Buffalo, we talk about them. They were able to beat them, but they struggled last week. It came down to Patrick Mahomes again making a big play and then putting them in field goal range and win the game on a field goal, 30-27 against the Carolina Panthers. It's definitely interesting to see how they aren't as dominant maybe as they look, but they do find ways to win. And honestly, in the NFL, because it's just not like college football, a win is a win in the NFL. Okay, you don't get measured by your strength of wins or your strength of schedule or anything like that. It's just simply a clinch the playoffs or not clinch the playoffs scenario. I think that'll definitely happen with the Chiefs. I don't know if they'll make it as far this year, though. I really don't see it, Connor, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I really don't see it. We'll talk about the Bills. I think they'll end up winning this weekend too. And like I said, already mentioned the Packers Dolphins game. I think the Packers will win, and that would help them out. Good for the Bills, man. They've got a terrible division, and they just get to roll right through that division. The only team that is competitive is the Dolphins. They're starting to get a little bit better with Tua back. Took them a little bit, but they played well last week. I think the Bills, though, and I don't know about you, I think the Bills are more dangerous than the Chiefs. I think the Bills are really good, and Josh Allen is not turning the ball over. And if Lamar doesn't win the MVP, he could certainly be the MVP this year. He has been really good. That offense has been good, and that defense always seems like it's pretty good too. So, yeah, I think that'll happen this week, and I think Buffalo. You know what, Connor? I would love to see a Buffalo and KC rematch. What do you think?
No, I actually was going to talk about that. This is the interesting thing, Ty. In the regular season, we just saw the Buffalo Bills beat the Chiefs. Josh Allen,
I think I heard this stat.
4-1 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes, though, is undefeated against Josh Allen in 3 games in the playoffs. He just has not been able to get over that Kansas City hump, and not really anybody has either. There's only been one team that's gotten over that hump, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're out of playoff contention. There's pretty much no way they could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Josh Allen has continually struggled against Patrick Mahomes. If we somehow were able to see these two teams in the AFC Championship, but remember, we still have Baltimore in the picture and several other great teams in the AFC. What are the chances Josh Allen finally gets the best of Patrick Mahomes and beats him in the postseason?
Honestly, what it reminds me of too, and I think they can do it this year. I really do. I think they're better than Kansas City. What it reminds me a lot of, though, and I've talked about this with my dad before, in one of their I can't remember what year it was, but when they played in the playoffs, that rivalry between those two reminds me so much of the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady rivalry. So much it reminds me of that rivalry. I mean, and the thing with it's like Brady, or it's like Mahomes is Brady and Allen is Manning. With Mahomes, he's won so much. With Allen, he hasn't been able to crack the case yet in the playoffs. But this year, I think it could be different, kind of similar to how it was in 2006 when Manning beat him in the AFC title game and led him to the Super Bowl and won his first Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears in Miami. I think, I don't know if Buffalo can win the Super Bowl this year. I think they've got the team to do it, but I think this rivalry resembles that Manning-Brady rivalry so much. There's two really good quarterbacks, but yeah, it's so crazy. I don't know if anybody thinks this way. I don't know if you think this way. I know that's just something me and my dad have in common, as we kind of think of this rivalry as sort of what Manning and Brady used to be. Be interesting to see if Allen can replicate what Manning did in 2006 and beat him in a playoff game.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was actually going to say that. It took Manning 7 years. So it's 2006 was his 7th year in the NFL to beat Brady. I mean, it took that long. And right now, this is Josh Allen's 7th year in the NFL. It
kind of sounds similar, doesn't
it? It's bound to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? You just made the great comparison. Josh Allen's Peyton Manning. 7th year, you beat Brady, win the Super Bowl. 7th year, Josh Allen, you could beat Mahomes and potentially go to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, history does repeat itself. So, yeah, that's just – I think they can, though. I think he can do it this year. But just back to the whole point of our little subject here, I think they'll both clinch this weekend. I'm sure you think the same way. That they'll handle business, and I think Green Bay will handle business against Miami.
Perfect. Well, Ty, I know we're going to eat a lot tomorrow, but I'm a little hungry right now. So we're going to get a little preview of some munching while we eat a little gravy with C. Davy. And finally, college football, Ty. I know it's your favorite. I know it's my favorite. We don't have much time to talk about it, but let's go. I'm going to give you a little stat right here. Now, we've talked about this before the first time it happened. Nate and I did. In 2007, you go back. That was the big, crazy, upset year, whatever. Set the record for the most ranked teams to lose in a week, which was 7. It was 7. I don't remember which week it was in 2007, but this year, football is a little bit crazier. It's a little bit more confusing. It's a little bit harder to predict. And now you have this past week of college football, the 3rd time this year, 7 ranked teams have lost in a week. That is crazy. That is to hear that stat when it hasn't happened since 2007, Ty. All these years later is insane. And I think the transfer portal, NIL, has a lot to do with it. You're having a lot more even teams because people are being able to pay players. Week 6 was the first time it happened. We made it. We made a show. We made sure to point that out. Week 10, it also happened. And now week 13, not 3 weeks later, it happens again. Now, those teams that have lost, Ty, we saw Indiana lose to Ohio State. Ole Miss lost to Florida. BYU lost to Arizona. Colorado lost to Kansas. Army lost to Notre Dame, which we kind of guessed it. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. And A&M lost to Auburn in 4 overtimes. Now, you can kind of give me your thoughts about what you think of what I just said, and I do want to talk about something. I want to kind of talk about the Big 12 because of how crazy the Big 12 is right now. Tell me what you talk about. We'll talk about the Big 12 in just a second. What do these upsets mean? It's the third time it's happened this year where 7 ranked teams have lost, which has only happened once before in history in the AP poll era in 2007, and now it's happened 3 times this year. Ty, what you think?
Goodness gracious, you nailed it, man. This is a crazy year. That's 21 games where a ranked team lost. That's insane. 7 times in 3 different weeks. It has been crazy. It's kind of 2007-ish. What this means now? Well, let's look at Indiana. Okay, Indiana loses to Ohio State by 3 scores. 2 big plays in that game. Indiana punter muffed the snap, and then also on special teams, Ohio State had a punt return. So those were 2 big plays in that ball game. Obviously, Ohio State goes on to win 38-15. But with Indiana losing, they'll be 10-1. They should produce pretty bad, so they should handle business, go 11-1, and finish the season off that way. What will be interesting is with SEC teams losing, like Alabama, like Ole Miss, like Texas A&M, that'll most likely knock any other SEC team out of contention. I think those 3 teams are really fighting for a spot. Can Indiana stay in the playoffs? You talk about their strength of schedule. It's a really bad strength of schedule when you compare it to these SEC teams. But with 3 losses by Alabama and Ole Miss and 2 losses now, and honestly, me personally, I would pick Texas this weekend to beat Texas A&M. So we'll just say, for the courtesy of our argument here, we'll say all 3 teams finish with 3 losses. It's important for Indiana because, hey, you'll probably stay in the playoffs now because you're an 11-1 team that only lost to Ohio State, who has the potential to go and maybe win the Big Ten championship and at least just participate in the Big Ten championship. So the SEC teams kind of choking it this week was huge for Indiana. I'll lead off with a little bit of Big 12 talk, and then we both can talk about it. Arizona State just continues to win. Good for them. Good for Kenny Dillingham, his 2nd year in Tempe. And, that is huge for them. I like to think as a State fan that maybe Lebby can have some sort of turnaround like that, like Kenny Dillingham had last year, because he was building the program last year. And this is his 2nd year here, and he's projected in the playoffs right now. So, and could win the Big 12 title. So, yeah, they just keep winning. BYU's kind of off the map now. Don't think they can. I don't know if they'll be able to get in there. Colorado losing is huge for Colorado. They were hot, and then Kansas just plays spoiler. That's tough. So, Connor, we got to open it up now and talk about the Big 12. Probably only going to get 1 team in there, to be honest with you, and it'll be the conference title champion.
Well, let's pull this 4th CFP poll real quick before we talk about the Big 12. It's interesting because technically, when you look at the standings, there is a 3-way tie, but Arizona State has the head-to-head matchups, and they're number 1. They're tied with Iowa State right now. They're number 1, and this could still be anybody's game. You have Arizona playing a conference team next week with Arizona State plays Arizona, Iowa State plays Kansas State, who you can see is ranked.
Yeah.
Now
That's 24th.
Back in the ranking, yes. And BYU plays Houston, which should be a win. I feel like Colorado is pretty much out of it after losing to Kansas. That bad. Kansas has just been freaking Big 12 legend killers somehow. Kansas just found a way to beat people. After get this, they have a 4-4 record in the conference, and they're 5-6 overall. But a couple of those wins has been to ranked teams. So Kansas, I don't understand.
Back-to-back weeks, right?
Back-to-back weeks. BYU and Colorado. So, goodness gracious. I mean, they've been fun to watch. The Big 12, honestly, has been a little fun to watch. Colorado last year was fun to watch. They're even better this year, dude. Last year, Colorado, I know I've probably said this 3 times on the show before, they played my favorite game last year, which was Colorado and Colorado State. That was the best game of the entire year last year. Wasn't even a ranked matchup, but because it was in the middle of the season, probably week 4 or something, they just put on a show, and it was so beautiful. They went into overtime. It was such a great game, and this year they're doing great things too. I don't necessarily think Colorado will make the Big 12 championship, but whoever makes it gets a playoff spot. So you're probably, unless Boise State loses, you're probably going to not get a bye, because every single Big 12 team's behind Boise State. Boise State will get the group of 5 bid, and now you have technically a 3-way tie: Arizona State, Iowa State, and BYU. So only way BYU can really make it is if Iowa State loses. So they're banking on a loss for Iowa State. Who's going to the Big 12 championship tie?
Which you talk about that Iowa State, that could happen. Kansas State's good. You know what the name of that rivalry is? You know what the name of that rivalry is?
No, I have no idea.
Farmageddon. Great
Farmageddon.
Great rivalry. Great rivalry. No, but really, I mean, that's going to be a good game. Kansas State is a good team. They've fallen to some teams this year, but they're a good team and they're competitive. That is definitely an interesting game, and I think BYU should be able to take care of business. With Houston's been bad this year.
Kevin Barbe.
Houston also, but they fired him.
Did they actually?
yeah, they fired him. Yeah, it's funny for us State fans, but no, I mean, yeah. So you got a Houston team they just fired their offensive coordinator, and they've been bad this year. They should probably take care of business. Here's my thing. I honestly think BYU is going to get back in. I think if that's how the tiebreaker works, which I think you're right on that, I think BYU is going to win this week against Houston. I think Kansas State's going to beat Iowa State. I really don't think Iowa State's that good. I think it'll be Arizona State, BYU in the Big 12 title. I think Arizona State runs the table and they make the college football playoff. And hey, they could make some noise. Mike could win a game. That's a good team. I mean, they really are. Like I said, Kenny Dillingham is a young guy, and he's built this program in under 2 years. Cam Scadaboo has been good. Sam Levitt, the quarterback there, has been good. As we know, Cam Scadaboo has been good. We dealt with that in week 2. Mississippi State did. But no, I think it's going to be Arizona State, BYU. But I think Arizona State beats Arizona this week, and then I think they win the conference title game. I think they find themselves in the playoffs.
And it makes Mississippi State look so much better, doesn't it? I mean, Scadaboo is 1,221 yards of rushing on the season with 14 touchdowns. He's got 5 yards a carry, Ty. That's what you want. I mean, there's only one guy. I don't even know if he still has this. I think there's only 1 or 2 guys in NFL history that has over 5 yards a carry, with, the standard being like, you got to have a certain amount of carries. You can't just have 1 carry and have it for 10 yards and boom, you're up there. But dude, I mean, 5 yards a carry, if I ran Scadaboo first down and got 5 yards every time, I am calling that a win because guess what? It's 2nd and 5. You know what I could do in 2nd and 5? I could run it again. I could take a shot. I could throw. I mean, there's so many things you could do on 2nd and 5 that opens up your offensive playbook because you have a guy like Scatabo running 5 yards a carry. We could see that against Arizona. I think they'll have fun. I mean, they should beat Arizona. I mean, Nate's not here to defend Arizona, being an Arizona alumni. I'm glad he's not here because we're not talking crap, but Arizona hasn't been as good as they were last
they're
year.
struggling.
And Arizona State, even in the Big 12 championship, if they make it, like we're saying, because they haven't clinched yet, they still could lose next week, and they could be running the table. And I saw their head coach. He was on ESPN yesterday. He was getting interviewed. Dude's confident, calm, and he's not cocky, but he's just like, we'll just see what happens. You've seen what we've been able to do on the field. That's probably going to happen again. We got probability on our side, so we could see it again. And Arizona State, Ty.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Okay, what's up?
Now, I'm not sure. Now, I know they do have one common opponent. I know them. Let me go ahead and say the teams, and then I'll do it. If A&M wins this week, I think they can make the conference title game.
A&M?
Correct? Yes, they would only have 2 conference losses, and they would go over. Obviously, they'd have the tiebreaker over Texas, and they'd have the tiebreaker, I think, over Tennessee, because A&M and Tennessee haven't played. But I think they would have the edge in. It goes by common opponents, and I think they have the edge because I know Tennessee lost to Arkansas, but A&M beat Arkansas.
That'd be
I think
it.
they would have the edge in that.
A&M lost to who? Their first
interesting.
conference loss.
A&M lost to golly, why am I blanking now? Carolina. Lost to South Carolina, and they lost to Auburn. Now
Tennessee hadn't played Carolina.
Tennessee hadn't played any of those teams.
Ty.
So A&M, if they win this week, we talk about, they're sitting at 20 right now, but if they win this week, all they got to do is win one more, and they're a lock into the playoffs. I mean, with winning the SEC title, you're a lock. That is certainly something to think about. I know I think I might have wrote A&M off a little bit, but I mean that's certainly a scenario, and the game is at Texas A&M, and that's not an easy place to play. And we know Texas has struggled against. I mean, Georgia beat them pretty good, and they've struggled against some teams. They struggled against Mississippi State. They ended up winning by 3 scores, but that game was a 1-score, 2-score game for most of the game. And they struggled against some other teams, struggled against Vanderbilt on the road. So that is certainly something you could think about. A&M, maybe if they win, get the conference title, they would end up playing Georgia because I think Georgia's a lock for the conference title.
Georgia's clinched.
So
yes,
so all Georgia has to do, Georgia's fine. So you'd end up playing Georgia, and you never know how that could happen on a neutral site. You've got a good team. A&M could find themselves in the playoffs.
Now you talk about A&M. I don't think offensively that was an issue. Marcel Reed played really good against Auburn. Their defense really threw that game. I mean, if you watched it, their defense just Peyton
Which
Thorne.
Is surprising.
Oh, my gosh. Peyton Thorne looked like freaking Johnny Manziel against A&M. Peyton Thorne looked so good. It was terrible. But, I mean, quickly, before we get out, the end of the show, I got to talk about Friday, Ty. You got a team that just missed the playoffs after you lost 7 points to Florida, and now you get to host probably the most this is the most heated rivalry, the biggest rivalry in college football. I don't want to hear the game is. The game has been the game for probably 2 years. If you look up the Egg Bowl, guess what's showing up? Ole Miss and Mississippi State. If I looked up the game, do you know how many different the games are going to show up? I'd have to look up Michigan, Ohio State. So I don't want to hear there's no debate. This is like the most heated rivalry, the biggest rivalry in college football, easily. Egg Bowl, Friday. you have a Thanksgiving tradition for years and years and years to play on Thanksgiving. First time it's been on Friday. Who wins?
Why are you gonna ask that question? Oh Lordy.
We got to talk about it, Ty. We can't go to Mississippi State
Well,
and
we
not
got
talk
to.
about
We're
the
too.
game
I know
Friday.
this. Yeah, I know the viewers aren't all Mississippi State people, but yeah, we've got to talk about this. So there's two ways I think it's going to go. I think either Ole Miss is going to beat the brakes off of State, or State wins in a close game. That's how I think it's going to go.
You don't think it's going to be close with an Ole Miss victory?
I do not, because I don't think there's an in between. I really don't. We've seen Ole Miss has struggled in close games. You have all their games, all their losses are by one score. So that's something to think about. I mean, they missed a field goal against Kentucky. They couldn't hold off LSU, and Jackson Dart chokes it in the final 3 minutes, throws picks, and they lose by 7. I'm glad you brought this up. We'll just watch this and smile for a second. Yeah, I wish we could get a close up of all the fans there in Oxford.
You storm the field when you beat Georgia and leave the field when you lose to Florida.
I think it goes to I don't know how you chomp. I don't know how you feel. I think it goes one of two ways. I think either Ole Miss is going to beat us pretty good, or State finds a way and wins a close game. We've been in close games, a lot. We've been in State has been in games with really good teams all year. We just have made too many mistakes, not converted enough third downs, and we just hadn't been able to capitalize off a good thing. Like last week against Missouri, you have 2 early stops on defense, and then after the second stop and you force them to punt from the 1 yard line, you fumble the ball in the pocket. So, or trying to make a play when you're scrambling outside the pocket. So it's just been the little things like that. But State's going to have to play a near perfect ball game to beat Ole Miss, because even though they have 3 losses, Ole Miss is still a very talented team. But I think it's going to go either Ole Miss beats us bad, or we find a way in what is always a classic game, in battle for the golden egg. We find a way to win late. I hope we do. I hope we win, because that would be amazing. So.
It's got to be perfect, Ty. Like you said, you got to play perfect football against a team like Ole Miss. We've seen crazier things happen in the Egg Bowl. I'm sure you remember playoff Mississippi State back in 2014.
Let's go to the next segment. You ain't got to talk about that. Yeah, no, yeah.
You've seen a couple top-ranked Ole Miss Rebels. Mississippi State's beat them before. So I don't want to jinx it. I'll be there Friday. Hopefully I can see my college win an Egg Bowl. It would be the second Egg Bowl I've ever been to. And, man, if State could win, it would be the icing on the cake for Thanksgiving. I'm staying in Oxford all weekend. I will go outside, walk the streets with my Mississippi State attire, and just puff out my chest and gloat, because if you're going to storm the field with 15 seconds left and the ball game ain't ended, I'm gonna storm your city before I leave. And we're going to say Mississippi State wins the Egg Bowl Friday.
Hope so. Really do. But, hope so. You enjoy it up there with your favorite people. I hope you I can't reiterate this enough to the viewers. They're not nice people. Don't be ever fooled if you ever interact with Ole Miss people. They're not nice people. They talk about you behind their back. Snobby people. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But hopefully the Dogs win. I doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm past the pain this year. Let's go. Bulldog hoops is what I'm ready for.
Well, Ty, let me set the tone. We went a little bit. I had to talk about the Egg Bowl. We went a little bit over. That's okay. Because I'll be brief with this one. I won't talk too long. So obviously I changed the segment names when Nate's not here, but we get to keep new week, new chapter. And usually Nate does this segment. I did it last week. Had a little bit on my heart I had to talk about, so I'm gonna do it again. Not knowing what much I want to talk about, but I did pick a verse I found I really liked. I've been looking at it for the past couple weeks. That's just been on my mind. So let me pull it up. This is 1 Corinthians 7:17, and don't mind the typos, the people. I try to pick a picture that's kind of more full for the screen so you can see it better, but this one's it's not a very good picture, but it'll be fine for what we need it for. Let's pull this up real quick. So 1 Corinthians 7:17 states, however, each one must live his life in the situation the Lord assigned when God called him. This is what I command all churches. Now, I want to talk about my sister's in town for Thanksgiving. I hadn't seen her in a minute, and she's staying over here. And last night we kind of got into a conversation, like it was more of a relationship type conversation. You got to find somebody. They say you got to find somebody equally yoked, and so obviously I was kind of like, there's levels to what equally yoked can mean, in my opinion. And you talk about being the same. Last night I was talking about, I'd love somebody that was Catholic, or somebody that's open to being Catholic, because I feel like that's important to me, for me to extend my Catholicism to my legacy. I'd love my kids to do it, because it's just what's so important to me. It's one of my big things. So obviously I get on this show, faith's one of my big things, so I want to extend that. And when you talk about, like, okay, well, what if you get somebody that's not? And one thing we were talking about is you got to really define what equally yoked means. And if you can define it in terms of faith alone and not really too much on denomination, I think you could have somebody that wouldn't be Catholic. And it's something that probably I need to pray about, that I should pray about, that I am praying about. And if I can find somebody that's perfect but not Catholic but equally yoked, I think we'll be okay. And so you talk about relationship, and you talk about this. And the reason I bring up the denomination thing, the different church thing, is I really don't care. I grew up Catholic, but I also went to my grandfather's Baptist church a lot. When he invited me, we ate after church. He had Sunday school, and I knew a lot of it. To me, it was like, it was different, but I never knew denomination until I got older. I thought everybody was, I want to say Catholic, but I thought everybody was just the same. I didn't know any different. I didn't know there would be a stigma against the Catholic Church, or there'd be a stigma against different Protestant denominations. I didn't know there was a stigma at all. I just thought everybody was the same. But for Christ, in this verse for sure, he's telling us to live our lives in the situation the Lord's assigned, which is the Lord's plan. He wants you to live your life to his plan. But he's not just talking to you, Ty. He's not just talking to me. He's talking to everybody, all the churches. And it's not just the Catholic Church. It's not just the Baptist Church. And that's one thing that I want to bring up. He's talking to everybody, Ty. And he's looking at us like I looked at so long ago when I was in my grandfather's Baptist church, looking up, singing the old Rugged Cross and I'll Fly Away. I'll fly away, oh Lord. I mean, I was singing these Baptist hymns, not knowing there was a difference in denomination. I thought everybody was the same. And that's how God looks at me and you, Ty. He doesn't see Catholicism. He don't see Baptist. He don't see Methodist. He don't see the different churches. He sees me and he sees you. And he says, hey, I look at you all the same. I don't want you to see difference, and I don't want you to have stigma against each other. I got one book. I've had the Holy Spirit come down and lead writers to write for you to live by. That's your manual. That's your life manual right there, is that Bible I wrote for you. There's different translations, but there's really only one thing he's telling us to do. I mean, obviously people like to interpret it different ways, but right here, he's telling everybody, Ty. He's telling everybody, look, you live your plan. I'm commanding it to all of you. I don't see Catholics. I don't don't see Baptists. I just see you. I think that's important though. I wish everybody would go back to me being maybe 5 years old. I don't know when I started learning the different stigmas. I hate that was something that was taught, but I thought everybody was. I didn't even know Baptists exist. I just thought everybody was Catholic. It was a little different going to church. Obviously, it's a different setting. It's a different kind of flow that I wasn't used to, but did I care? No. I had such a big role model in a Southern Baptist man for my faith than anybody I could have. I would go to his house, sit on the end of his couch that we have in our living room, and he'd sit in his recliner, and I'd just sit there and listen to him. We'd talk back and forth. I had a good Christian education. I say Christian because although I went to a Catholic school, there was a lot of people that weren't Catholic there, but they all got a good education. Christian religion class, you learn a lot when you grow up all your life in a Catholic school. And I would just sit there and talk to him because obviously he's read the Bible so many times, and I wish I could read it all one through. I haven't sat down and read it all. I wish I could. That's one of my goals, is to read it all. But I'd sit there and still almost compete, not debate, but have a conversation with him. And I feel like if we can all see, I wasn't telling him, I wasn't sitting there and saying, look, I'm talking to a Southern Baptist man. I was sitting there and talking to my faith role model. A guy I could go to his church and say, I don't see Catholics, I don't see Baptists, I see Christians. And it's a big problem in the church. It's a big problem with a lot of people judging. I wish more people would not see me for Catholic. I feel like sometimes I say I'm Catholic, they're like, it's like a cult, you know? It's like, oh, you worship this, you worship that. No, I worship the same guy you do. It's the same guy. If you sat down and sat in your recliner and let me sit on the edge of the couch and explain it to you, we'd have a nice conversation. I wouldn't get up. We'd have a good conversation, and it would be productive for both of us. So, until we can have that conversation, Ty, I'd like to pray to end off the show. I know we went a little over, but I just wanted to make that one note known. If we cannot see denomination, if we could just see all of us the same, I think we'll be fine, because God's commanding it to all his churches, so we should see it like that as well.
I want to add on that just 1 second. You're right. Need to see everybody. You know what we are? We're children of God. We're sent on this earth to do one thing, and that's to spread his word. And as a believer in the Lord, that's the only thing you need to know, is you're sent here to share his word and to be kind to others. And that's all you need to know. There's no bias towards anything. You're all brothers in Christ. That's all you are. You're all brothers in Christ. You're a son of God. That's you're exactly right.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to pray and end off the show, so you can go and do whatever you want. And let's give a little thanks, Ty. Take off this hat. I did get a new haircut, so it is a little beat down, but I come home, I had to get blessed by my barber. So Ty, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to do the sign of cross. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, get down in prayer. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for letting us come here to talk about football, but the most importantly, talk about you. As we sit here and hopefully glorify your name in whatever we do, I want you to look at us and lead us to where we need to go. You assigned a path for us, Lord, and hopefully the tunnel may be dark, but the light's at the end of it, and hopefully we will get there, do your plan for us, and glorify you every step of the way. Lord, I want to pray that you show all of us, all your children of God, as Ty says, to not look at people as denominational, to not look at people in division, but to look at everybody as your children, Lord, to not have certain stigmas that has been created due to our human nature, because our human nature is to sin, Lord. But I pray that you erase a little bit of that human nature as we glorify and do your plan, Lord, and show us what that plan is. Lord, I hope for safe travels during the Thanksgiving, as I'll go back to Oxford and back to Starkville and everybody else who needs to go back to school, including Ty, and give thanks, Lord. As we give thanks to you, let us give thanks tomorrow and glorify your name in all that you do for us, Lord. And so hopefully Thanksgiving will not just be about certain things, and most importantly be about you. So as we gather in fellowship and eat and food, hopefully we can glorify you and say your name, hold your name up high. And until then, tomorrow, it's your son's holy and precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Put this
I
hat
love
back
to
on.
hear that. Love to hear that you had a grandpa that you used to sit down with and talk with the Lord about. I'm the same way, man. Same way.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
up in the bonus room and Sunday mornings just chit chat.
The
That's some of
bonus
the
room.
best times of your life, man. Some of the best times of your life, man.
Dude, I remember being in that freaking nursery growing up in the Baptist church. I was in that little Baptist church nursery during church service when I was young. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like I said, I didn't see that. I thought everybody was just the same. So until we see that, we went a little over. I apologize. I know. Instagram's still running. That's good. Okay. I always check it a while. But as Nate gets better, I wish I would have prayed for him. Real quick, I want to pray for him. I want to pray for his dad's recovery. His dad had surgery last week. He's doing well. He wanted me to tell you guys that. Speedy recovery for his dad. Hopefully nothing happens, but the Lord's will is the Lord's will. Nate's under the weather. Pray for him in a speedy recovery so that he can go tomorrow and give thanks and enjoy some fellowship and food. So until that, tomorrow we will be here at 8 o'clock in the morning for Third Down Thursdays. It will be our Thanksgiving special we do every year. If you want to tune in for that, make sure you get a good night's sleep like me, because I'm going to have to get up before 8 so I can set everything up. So if you're wanting to tune in, Bruce is going to cook a nice turkey, and MJ and I might have our argument tomorrow, our debate. And when that happens, if I am awake enough to have that debate, I hope you join us tomorrow. But we might have to schedule the show Tuesday, as Ty and I might go to a Mississippi State basketball game next Wednesday, because it's a big one. It's the biggest one of the season so far, as they play Pitt in the Humphrey Coliseum. We'll probably flex our show to Tuesday, but we'll still stay as a Wednesday schedule. So until next week, it'll probably be Tuesday. If you see me Tuesday, I'll probably post about it. And if you're tuning in as you usually do, you'll know. So until next week, Ty, is there anything you'd like to say before we end off this show?
Well, to everybody traveling, y'all be safe wherever you're headed to. To you traveling to Oxford tomorrow, you be safe. And when you go back to Starkville, you be safe. Hope you enjoy your time up there. Hopefully you get to see a dog win. So yeah, just everybody be safe and enjoy the holidays. Eat a bunch of turkey, eat a bunch of dressing, eat a bunch of pecan pie. That's all I gotta say. And Hail State,
man.
You gotta say that too.
Pecan
You gotta say
pie
Hail
and Hail
State.
State, baby. Hail State.
That's right.
I'll represent in Oxford for sure. But let's all represent the Lord tomorrow as we give thanks. But until next week, we'll see you then. We'll give you all the news. We'll be on the brink of college football. It'll be the last college football playoff poll until the championship. We'll pretty much get an idea of who makes it in, who doesn't. We'll talk about that next week. Ty might be on. I might bring him on for that. But until then, I'm your co-host, Connor Davis. The man to my right is not the man, the myth, the legend, the 5-year NFL vet, Nate Ness. It's my buddy, Ty Goldman. Go follow him on Twitter. He tweets a lot, and he gives his thoughts about State and the Saints, too. So, follow us tomorrow. I'll be in Oxford for the Egg Bowl. Might do a little tweeting, too. Ty, you'll be watching it. So, until then, next week, we got a lot of football to watch. Make sure it's on your screen, and that will be on your screen next Tuesday at 7. This has been The Breakdown, X's and O's. We will see you next week. Goodbye.